This video is in association with MPEC vendors.
What is new, my Mystic crew? So today we have our deck profile from when we went to locals last week. There was 20 players. It was hyper competitive. We came 4th place, so I'm really happy with that result. And technically, if you want to be technical about it, we might have placed 3rd. There was a couple of tiebreakers and whatnot, but we got the 4th place on the system, so we'll take that out of 20 people. Hyper competitive. I'm talking the Snake Eyes, I'm talking 10 Pie Dragons, like several 10 Pie Dragon decks. It was a very high paced week. And this is our deck profile, so let's run over this together and we will go through everything here. So starting off with, of course, the Chimera Fusion. Now, if you were not aware about this card, so I am fully aware, we have angled ourselves, so let's straighten up a little bit. There we go. So with Chimera Fusion, the way this card works is you can use the fusion effect as many times as you want in a turn, but the adding back from grave is once per turn. Now that did catch a few people off at locals. They thought even the fusion effect was once per turn, but that is not the case. So do remember that. But in order for that to happen, you need to have the fusion monster either on the field or in the grave in order to add it back. I do apologise. Let's get this positioned correctly so we can get this sorted properly. There we go. I think we are now good. Then next up we have Nightmare Apprentice, which has quickly became a 1.5 card starter and most probably arguably one of the better starters in the deck. For those of you who don't know, same with all illusion monsters but one. It has the effect that it can't be destroyed by battle, nor can it destroy monsters by battle. But you discard a card and you spec it. It is an inherit summon. It is not an effect, it's an inherit summon. Kind of think Mathmech Circular. Same sort of summoning condition. And then when this is normal or special summoned, you can add any illusion monster from your deck to your hand. So you can pick up your deck and search out your Kotal, search out your Mirror Sword Knight. You can search out Master Tau if you want to do some graveyard shenanigans. It is a really good starter to the deck and just a fantastic body. And just to jump ahead in the deck profile a little bit here, if you ditch this for cost for Nightmare Apprentice, the amount of just the amount of synergy it has and the amount of plussing you get from this, because Nightmare Apprentice would then be chain 1, your Edge Imp would be chain 2, your Edge Imp will grab a Fight Fur card, your Nightmare Apprentice will then grab any illusion monster. So not only do you chain block the Nightmare Apprentice, so you know that's going through, but then once you get the Fight Fur patchwork, you activate that to add another copy of Edge Imp and Polymerization, and then a Fiend and an illusion monster straight away takes you into the Berthamut Fusion. So it comes in handy so much quicker. And I do again apologise about this. I'm using a new phone stand. It's actually like a massive arm which comes off the desk. So I've just got to find the position right because it keeps teetering. Hopefully I now have that correct. Again, I apologise for the movement. Next card is the 3 copies of Cornfield Kotal. Kotal you can discard to add a monster that mentions Chimera Fusion, so you either search your Mirror Sword Knight, your Gazelle, or even your Berthamut. I have searched Berthamut off this once or twice. And then, well, you control the Chimera Fusion monster. It is a target negate. So if your opponent targets one of your cards, you banish this from field or grave, and you negate and destroy, which is really nice. It is a fantastic counter to SP Little Knight. If this is in grave and you've got the fusion monster, your opponents can't activate SP, or otherwise you just negate and destroy it. Then of course we have the 3 copies of Mirror Sword Knight. And before we go into Mirror Sword Knight, there's one more thing as well quickly. Having Nightmare Apprentice does allow you to actually side out a copy of Cornfield Coatl if you're ever stuck for siding options and you just need to side that one more out. Nightmare Apprentice does give you that freedom to take out a Coatl without it hitting your consistency too much. So yeah, that's really, really nice to do. Yeah, I can see what the issue is with this arm now. Bear with me. There we go. That should now hold nicely. There we go. Anyway, Mirror Sword Knight. So when this card's normal summoned, it does absolutely nothing, but quick effect, you can tribute it for cost to spec out a monster that mentions Chimera Fusion. Normally you would spec out your Big Wing Berthamut, because then Berthamut searches your level 4 beast and the quick play spell, so therefore you can go straight into some fusing shenanigans. And then where you control the fusion monster while this is on the field, you can banish this card from field or grave to negate a face-up monster effect that turn. Again, it doesn't even have to be enchained to that effect. It's just a case of, as long as you're in a game state where you can activate it, you can activate it and negate a monster. And because it's non-targeting, even if that opponent moves the target, it still negates it. It's not like Imperm or Effect Railer where it targets, because it doesn't. It's just a straight out, no, you're negated. Then we have 3 copies of Gazelle, which is arguably your best normal summon of the whole deck, because when this card's normal summon, you can search level 5 Fiend and or Chimera Fusion. Now, a lot of people are under the impression that Mirror Sword Knight is the best normal summon, but the issue with that is, yes, Mirror Sword Knight dances around Effect Railer, it dances around Imperm, so it does eliminate those 2 hand traps. However, people don't normally slap those 2 hand traps down at that point, they slap down Ash Blossom. And when your when your Mirror Sword Knight gets ashed, it hurts so much, because normally that stops your combo dead and you've got nothing on field. Unless you've opened the absolute god hand and you already got 2 materials plus a fusion spell in hand to keep going, that's normally your turn done. Whereas if this gets stopped, you've at least got a body on the field for a bit of protection, and if you go in second and it gets stopped, hopefully they've gone into the extra deck twice and then you've got a Typhoon on field instead. And next up we have our 2 copies of Big Wing Berthamut. I did try this at 3 for a while back, if you go back through the videos, but 2 is definitely the best number. You can recycle it, however, if you're getting to the point where you need a 3rd or a 4th, you've got issues. You're not playing the deck right. 2 is more than enough for the combo lines, and it is more than enough to get the job done. Now, don't get me wrong, when some other in archetype level 5 Fiends come out, it'll be interesting to see how that goes, but for now, these 2 are more than enough. Then we have Master Tao the Chanter. This card was fantastic beforehand. A lot of people slept on him, and I don't understand why. To spec back an illusion monster, so let's say for argument's sake, you normal summon Gazelle, you've got Mirror Sword Knight in hand and say Chimera Fusion. You normal summon Gazelle, activate Gazelle's effect, they Imperm, they Veiler, whatever. You chain the Chimera Fusion, fusing off the Mirror Sword Knight and the Gazelle into the Berthamut Fusion to dodge the Imperm or the Effect Railer. So then the Gazelle goes off like standard. But then the Berthamut effect, the Fusion Berthamut effect, allows you to Foolish a Beast Fiend or Illusion. So then you Foolish this, and then you get to spec back the Mirror Sword Knight that you just sent, and then you can activate the Mirror Sword Knight effect, tributing it, of course, to spec out the Berthamut, which then grabs you another Chimera Fusion and another level 4 beast, which puts you into the Chimera Fusion as well. So I don't understand why people slept on this, but definitely such a good card, and even so much better Now that it can spec back Nightmare Apprentice on your opponent's turn to get another search as well. Then next up we have Diabel's the original Sin Keeper, the only illusion monster that can be destroyed by battle, and well, the only effect illusion monster that can be destroyed by battle. And it's a one-sided anti-spell fragrance, but for spells and traps. And your opponent has to think about this card. They cannot afford not to think about it. This really helped me against Tempai, because then they couldn't just activate their quick play spell when they searched it. They had to set it, which then at least bought me a turn. It shuts down things like Evenly Matched. It shuts down Infinite Impermanence, because they have to set them. They can't just activate them from their hand. They have to be set before activated, which really, really comes into clutch. Another card which really helped against Tempai is the Barrier Statue of the Abyss. This obviously helps against Tempai and the Fire King matchups quite a lot. And again, I was able to get both of these out in one game against Tempai, and then my opponent really did struggle to overcome them both, because if they overcame that, they still had that to deal with, so they couldn't go full combo, and vice versa. They had to normal summon and punch over this without the special summoning effect, and it just really hurt and really slowed them down to the point where I was able to mount back some form of attack. Moving on, we then have 2 copies of Fight Fur Patchwork, which, if you don't know what this does, this adds an Idrint monster and polymerization from your deck to your hand. Now, I am currently on a 2-3-2 package. However, I do feel I'm going to swap the Edge Imp and the Fight Fur numbers around and up Fight Fur to 3 and drop Edge Imp to 2. The main reason why I'm on this at the moment is because opening a copy of Edge Imp when you're running 3-2-3 doesn't hurt, because you can discard it for cost for Nightmare Apprentice. You can fuse it off, whatever you need to do, which then searches the copy of Fight Fur Patchwork, which then you can activate to get your second copy along with your polymerization, and then when that goes, you can get your second and final copy of Fight Fur Patchwork, which then when activated gets you your third copy of Edge Imp and your second copy of Poly. Whereas if you open this, when you've got 3 of them and only 2 of these, if you open an Edge Imp, 2 Fight Fur Patchwork in your deck are then dead cards, whereas opening an Edge Imp without the additional Fight Fur is still, it's still worth it. So that's the reason why I play it that way, but I'm thinking of changing up the numbers to the other way around. And then, of course, we've got the 2 copies of Poly that we were just talking about. Next up, we have our hand trap lineup. This week, I went quite heavy on the hand traps. So we have our 3 copies of Ash Blossom, which is very universal, I think is in every deck, in every format. We then have our 3 copies of Effect Railer. As you lot know, I used to really hate this card. I don't know why. But now I have seen the error of my ways. It is actually really good. I actually prefer it over Imperm now. And the reason for that is because if I've got Guardian Chimera and I draw 2, or I draw 1, and I draw an Imperm, because say I Guardian Chimera on my opponent's turn to pop 2, draw 1, and I draw an Imperm, the Imperm's dead. It's not doing anything. But if I draw the Effect Railer, it's then instantly live, which I really love and gives me that extra bonus. Now, don't get it twisted. I am still running 3 copies of Imperm. I am looking to drop this down to potentially 2, because next week I'm looking to cut the next card I'm about to show you to put Crossout Designator back in the deck and drop a copy of Imperm to run copy of Nibiru for a crossout target, because you'll see in the gameplay footage, if I manage to get any uploaded this week, Nibiru really hurt. I got nibbed several times this week, and it was always after I made a full board, and I'm just sat there like, I've got a fat token, but I've got nothing else. And the other card I ran this week is the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Now, again, this did put in work. It did help. I tried holding it for Tempai to drop on their field spell, but I had to use it early on the Paedra. But I think that's me just not knowing the deck well enough. And then the 40th card is a single copy of Call by the Grave. So that's the main deck. Like I said, the Ghost Ogres did do work, but I do feel cross out with a Nibiru might be better. I don't know. But let's have a look here and see what else we've got. So in the side deck, extra deck, we have, of course, our 2 copies of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, and this will always stay at 2. Same with our 2 copies of Berthamut. Again, anyone who tells you that this is at 1, we're not playing the deck properly. It has to be at 2. You cycle through all 4 of these so much, and in the grind game, you'll be so thankful for having that second one. If you don't have that second one, you do struggle. Then, of course, we have our OTK machine, and I did actually OTK in the 5th round this week. Game 1, I went into this using 3 illusions, so it got the 4 attacks, and I just absolutely obliterated my opponent with it. And then Magnum the Reliever. Magnum the Reliever, I have started to make a little bit more. It's not normally something I think of going into. The main time I do is when I need to pop floodgates, like if my opponent drops Rivalry of the Warlords or something like that. But I'm going to Magnum to get that popped. We have finally 2 copies of Guardian Chimera. Thanks to Rarity Collection 2, we are sitting on 2 secret rare copies. So I was very, very thankful for that. And the second copy does definitely help. That's it for the Chimera package. After that, it is Super Poly targets. So we have the Predaplant Dragostipelia, the Mud Dragon of the Swamp, the Garura Rings of Resonated Life, and then we are playing Embers of the Ashen. This will now be dropped. This was ran because I just didn't have another card. I knew which card I wanted, I just didn't have it at the time. So the choices were either this or Starving Venom Dragon, and I just thought this might help with the Snake Eye matchup. However, this has now arrived in the post. This is something I've treated myself to. As you can see, it is the ultimate rare Chaos Angel, and this will be taking the Embers of the Ashen spot. I just didn't want to put it in until after the deck profile, so you can see exactly what I ran this week. And then the last 3 spots in the extra deck are not even for fusions. They are for SP Little Knight, which I have made a total of 0 times. Don't get me wrong, I bet it will come in handy the one time I do make it. But so far, I'm yet to think I need SP Little Knight on my field. It is literally there for shit's gone wrong, hit the button. And then we've got Evolshire Lars, which is part of the first turn board setup if you can play uninterrupted or if you can play around the interruptions. You should end on this, the Berthamut fusion and a face down Chimera fusion with Mirror Sword Knight in defense, ideally. And then Typhoon, which we spoke about earlier, and will be in the deck moving forwards for most probably the remainder of the life of this deck. With the side deck, I don't normally show it, but I'll just give you a quick overrun. We have Droll because it does hurt certain decks, so you can side out Ghost Ogre or 1 copy of each, have a hand trap to side them in. We have Super Poly because we've got Super Poly targets. We have the 3 Nibiru, which is beautiful. Be nice if I see it when I side it in. I'm yet to actually see it. 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Again, this did actually put in some good work for me this week. And then 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclones, which again, every time I've sided them in, I'm yet to actually see them. So at least I get to see the D barrier though when I side that in, so that's always something. I was thinking about doing a combo tutorial for you as well, but this has gone on for 20 minutes already, and I don't like to have my videos just go on too long. So I'm going to end this there. I hope you enjoyed seeing the 4th place deck profile of the 20-man locals, and we'll see how we do with the tweaks we're looking to bring into the deck for next week. And again, I'm sorry for moving the camera around. It's a brand new setup. I might send the pictures of the MPEG vendor Instagram of the new setup if you're interested in seeing that. But until next time, peace out. Have a good one.